Hey everyone, Dale here with Renewable Innovations. Today's story is a very important one because it highlights something I've talked about for years. The dangers of buying solar based solely on the price. Now, before we get into this absolute disaster of an installation, take a second to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if you find these videos helpful. Remember, Renewable Innovations isn't just another solar company. We're a consulting agency that specializes in the solar and electrical industries. We work with homeowners and electricians throughout California, whether that's providing independent system inspections, helping homeowners compare proposals, connecting them with trusted installation partners, or helping electrical contractors with permits, plan designs, utility coordination, and growing their businesses. At the end of the day, we're trying to bridge that gap between homeowners and electricians and help people avoid situations exactly like the one I'm about to share with you today. So with that said, let's get into this disaster. All right, a few weeks ago, an electrician I work with referred a homeowner over to me. This customer had recently installed a massive 15 kilowatt, 36 panel solar system with a single Tesla Powerwall 3 and was having a long list of issues. Now, this homeowner actually did his homework. He got multiple quotes. He talked with several solar companies. He compared pricing, and pretty much every contractor told him the same thing. You have a clay tile roof. We're going to need to comp it out. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with that term, a comp out means removing the clay tiles where the solar arrays are going to be installed, having a roofer install composition shingles in those areas, installing the solar system on top of that, and then bringing the existing clay tiles back up to the edge of the array. This actually looks really good when it's done correctly, as if it was built right into the home. It's not cheap, but it's the proper way to do it when you have a clay tile roof or even light tile roof. Well, there was one company that said they didn't need to do any of that. And wouldn't you know it, they were also significantly cheaper than everyone else. Funny how that works. Don't want to do the extra roof work, you're going to be cheaper. Now, I'm not going to mention the company, but they were based out of Texas, and they subcontracted the installation work to another company based out of Los Angeles. Mind you, this homeowner is based in Palm Desert, California, so I'm not knocking them for that really, as it's actually very common in the solar industry, but I thought it was worth pointing out to you. Now, the roof wasn't the only issue. The second challenge was this home's electrical service. This house had a split 320 amp service with a 200 amp section feeding part of the house and a separate 125 amp section feeding another portion. This becomes important because Tesla's backup switch is only rated for services up to 200 amps. Since this service exceeded that, the project would require a Tesla gateway. The problem? Well, a single Tesla gateway is limited to 200 amps, meaning you can only back up part of the house, but not the entire house. I've done plenty of projects with this exact configuration, though they usually have a split 400 amp service, so it's 200 and 200, but regardless, same concept. Now, all those other solar contractors that quoted this project explained the same thing. You can back up half of the house, or you can install an additional Tesla gateway and an additional Powerwall to back up both sections. That's just reality. Well, according to the homeowner, the company he selected told him something different. What do you think they told him? Well, they told him they'd be able to back up the entire house, which just so happened to be exactly what he wanted to hear. So the customer, as you might have guessed, moved forward with them. So just to recap, he was told he didn't need the roof work, and he was told the whole house could be backed up with a single Tesla Powerwall and single gateway. Well, 6 months later, That's where I entered the picture. Now, by the time I got involved, this homeowner was absolutely fed up. I felt bad for the guy. The system had become a freaking nightmare. Apparently, the Powerwall had been replaced, I still have a hard time believing this, 5 separate times. Yeah, 5 freaking times. I don't know whether all of those were RMAs or warranty replacements, or whether technicians just kept swapping out the Powerwall with another one to try and figure out what was going on. But what I do know is that the system wasn't operating properly because of a ground fault issue with the solar installation. Powerwalls are very sensitive to grounding. The company eventually had to remove every single solar panel and reinstall a significant portion of the solar to locate the problem. And that's when things really started going downhill. The homeowner already had some broken roof tiles before this whole rework began. But boy, after the solar company tore everything apart and then reinstalled the system, there was significantly more damage. At this point, the homeowner had already started consulting with a local roofing contractor about repairs. And guess what the solution ended up being? The same thing all the other solar companies had recommended: installing composition shingles and then installing the solar on that. The exact roof work that is supposedly wasn't necessary when the project was sold by this Texas company, but the roof wasn't even the craziest part. I mean, seriously, mind you, the 5 Powerwalls is pretty crazy. When I performed the inspection, the workmanship issues were just all over the place. We had missing watertight fittings for the conduit entering the Powerwall, missing conduit straps, unused knockouts that just weren't sealed. They didn't seal them up. They knocked them out and just left them open. They had exposed 3/0 conductors sticking out of LB fittings. Just there you go. Hopefully nothing hits that and you don't get electrocuted with 200 amps. The Powerwall was missing the rapid shutdown button entirely, and it was obvious the equipment had been touched and taken apart and reassembled multiple times. One thing that really stood out to me was the Tesla gateway placement. Now, technically, there wasn't a code violation with this, but it had been installed directly beneath the main electrical panel, and it looked terrible. The gateway could have easily been installed right behind the electrical panel with a simple gutter box, where it would have been cleaner and much more protected. It honestly just looked like the dude showed up, spent 30 seconds, and was like, yeah, let's just stick it right here, man. Right there on the wall, that's good, okay. And they called it a day. It blows my mind. What really blows my mind, though, is that this installation passed inspection from the city. All the more reason you should have a third-party inspection. Obviously, the city is just not in tune with workmanship. Or it's possible that a lot of the issues that arose and these workmanship issues arose after the city passed inspection. So it's hard to say. I still don't understand how some of these issues made it, though, and that's exactly why we offer independent inspections. This isn't about attacking a solar contractor. This is about protecting your investment as the homeowner. Now, after my inspection, I emailed a pretty detailed report over to the homeowner with photos and all that good stuff, and then he asked me for an estimate with repairs. Well, I had to connect him with another electrician. That's John's Electric. I work with him regularly on different projects. He's a Tesla certified electrician, and I did that because, well, I'm not a licensed contractor. I'm a consultant. So there's nothing in it for John to give you an estimate. So, or another electrician to give you an estimate. I'm completely independent in that regards. But John installed a Tesla remote energy meter so, homeowner could properly monitor the non-backup loads in that 125 amp section of the house. The homeowner understood at this point that whole home backup wasn't going to happen, but he still wanted visibility into the home's entire loads. So John corrected that. He corrected the exposed conductors, cleaned up the electrical panel connections because it was kind of rough in there. There was some pretty extensive, just overly trimmed conductor exposure in the lugs. He installed the missing rapid shutdown equipment, which is kind of required, and he put in the proper watertight fittings, that was really important, added the missing conduit supports, and generally fixed all of the obvious workmanship issues. But there was still one problem. The system wasn't performing correctly. After working with Tesla, though, we discovered that the original installer had managed to configure PCS incorrectly or just enabled it. I'm not 100% sure, but it limited the site to 80 amps. As a result, every time this homeowner turned on his air conditioner or started charging his EV, the solar production would get throttled. Now, I did a whole video on PCS. If you're not familiar with it, check it out. I have no idea if that happened because the system had been recommissioned 5 different times or if someone simply made a mistake, but it was wrong, and thankfully it was an easy fix in the software. Once corrected, the system immediately started performing the way it should have from day one. Now here's the part I really want homeowners to understand. You do not have to sit there and take this bullshit. A lot of homeowners think their only option is leaving a bad review online, sharing their poor experience. That's not always the case. If a contractor causes damages, refuses to make corrections, or simply won't stand behind their work, you have recourse options. In this homeowner situation, he ultimately filed a bond claim against the contractor through the California State Licensing Board. Every state's going to be a little different. And before anyone jumps into the comments, don't jump down there just yet. Let me be very clear. A bond claim should be your last resort. You should always try to work with the contractor first and give them the opportunity to make things right. That's also a condition of filing a claim anyways. Have you exhausted all opportunities with that contractor? But if they won't correct things, that's exactly why the contractor bonds exist. It's important to note that most contractor bonds are only $25,000. So they're not going to make someone completely whole in a situation like this when roof repairs are over $45,000 and electrical repairs are almost $5,000, but they can absolutely help offset damages caused by negligence and poor workmanship in this particular situation. And honestly, that's where this story ends. Not with a happy customer, not with a contractor fixing everything, but with a homeowner spending months dealing with problems that never should have existed in the first place. And he still has his roof to be done. The craziest part, there was one final issue. Well, I guess not so much of an issue as a bait and switch. And I've warned about this before, but here's a perfect example. The homeowner was supposed to receive REC Alpha Pure R 420 watt modules, according to the contract and the permitted plans. Instead, the contractor installed REC Alpha Pure 2 420 watt modules. Now, they're very similar modules, and the wattage is the same, but it's still another deviation from the contract. Another thing that wasn't delivered exactly as promised. Look, I'm not telling this story to scare people away from solar. I'm telling you this story because no one learns anything unless someone is willing to share stories like this. I think we can all agree that the cheapest quote is not always the cheapest option. Every other solar contractor told this homeowner the same thing. The roof needed additional work. The electrical service had backup limitations. But one company told him exactly what he wanted to hear. And 6 months later, he was dealing with roof damages, multiple Powerwall replacements, workmanship issues, performance issues, and having to file a bond claim. If you've recently had solar installed, I strongly recommend having an independent third-party inspection performed. Sure, it might cost a few $100, having a roofer go out or having an electrician go out or another consultant, but finding these issues early can save you thousands or potentially tens of thousands down the road, especially while the company's still in business, right? You don't want to wait until they're gone. If you're considering solar, batteries, or you'd simply like a second opinion before signing a contract, reach out to us here at Renewable Innovations by using the links down in the description below. We're here for you even when things look bleak. I'm Dale with Renewable Innovations. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you found this story helpful. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one.